Hi, welcome to Maker's Bar. I'm Akshata. Distribution is an industry that is very hard to disrupt because of the complexity, infrastructure required, regulatory hurdles, scale, and technology adoption. Today, we have a company that is trying to level the playing field in distribution. Hackle believes that every innovator should have fair access to an omnichannel sales and distribution platform that allows them to compete effectively in the marketplace. The prospect of pioneering in distribution 2.0 in India inspires Hackle's team. Today, we have Deepu Chandran, CEO and co founder of Hackle. He has previously worked for the Adani Group and Larsen Toubro. He has also got an undergrad from the very famous NIT Calicut and an MBA from IIM Bangalore. Welcome, Deepu.
Thank you, Akshata. Good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you as well, Deepu. Deepu, let's get started on the question. So, can you tell me about the moment when you first had the idea for the business and what inspired you to start this company?
Yeah. Mm, you know, I think idea is a question that generally gets posed,
Yeah.
and I have always felt that uh, idea and our lens on a simple idea is extremely overrated, right? And it is not a moment that we got the idea, right? We have been in the space of logistics for quite some time. So
Yeah.
we were running a relocation technology startup that we have just exited. And so during that process, we had dabbled a lot in helping companies get their products to end consumers, right?
Yeah.
So the idea itself evolved over a period of time. I would say the moment was close to 1.5 years, right? Where we did a lot of pilots on the ground to understand. What are the things that can work, what are the changes that are needed in the industry,
Yeah.
and we felt compelled because uh, 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 because we felt that the industry is up for disruption and we are at
Yeah.
the right stage, right?
Yeah.
So just to put it, close to 1.5 2 years would be when we started working on it, and the moment when the idea crystallized is actually a period of close to 1.5 years, right? So
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, so that took a long time. Obviously, it's a very difficult industry to even think about. So I would say that's pretty cool. But what does your company exactly do? Like, what does Hackle do? So, I mean,
Yeah. So
when I go to the website, I find it hard. And, I've known you for a long time now, and I still find it hard to wrap my head around what Hackle does. So, what do you guys do?
I think it is important to understand why we are building it before
Yeah,
getting into what we do, right?
yeah.
So, if you look at it, distribution has been working in the same way for the past several years for even large brands.
Hmm.
It is highly unorganized. There are small hyperlocal distributors who cater to a region.
Hmm.
Now, because of this highly distributed and highly hyperlocal nature of the business, it is difficult for many of these small distributors to pick up massive scale,
Yeah.
which is required for improving the speed of the market.
Hmm.
And now, so let me tell you why, right? So, online has actually changed consumer behavior significantly,
Yeah.
right? Consumers are used to a lot of options, right?
Yeah.
So, online provides variety and options for customers, but
Yeah.
offline space does not offer those many options for customers because the space is limited. Now,
Mhm.
if you have to maximize on space, you need to ensure that you stock less inventory, and the distribution network should be able to deliver these less inventory in high frequency. But
Yes.
without scale, it is not possible to do it. So
Yeah.
traditional distributorships, I think, will get disrupted.
Mm.
Second reason is that today online has also democratized the ability to create brands.
Yeah.
It's a lot of new brands in different categories have come up, but and they initially sell online because they find it easy, but over a period of time, the growth plateaus and the customer acquisition costs skyrocket. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that is when it becomes important for them to look at other options like offline and building a sustainable brand.
Yeah.
And today, in this fragmented way in which distribution functions, it would take somebody who wants to get in also a lot of time to figure out the market, and and multiple iterations even to get a hyper local market, right?
Yeah. I totally hear you.
And normally what happens is that even after large companies doing a lot of technology interventions on the ground,
Yeah.
getting the data related to the entire ecosystem in one place is very difficult, right?
Yeah.
It occurs in pieces. So
Yeah.
they would have data about their fulfillment.
Mhm.
Then they will have to augment it with the information collected by field force or even research reports by large companies to understand what competition is doing, and
Yeah.
many of them happens to be reactive,
Yeah.
right? So the reports come are for the previous quarter, right? They
Yeah.
don't get an idea about what is happening today.
Yeah.
What we try to do is we try to, as a platform, our objective is to build uh, a data platform that enables flow of products to the market for a brand
Yeah.
at a high frequency that the market demands today,
Mm-hmm.
and aggregate the information from the market
Mm-hmm.
so that brands can do specific promotional and other advertising interventions on the ground to
Yeah.
influence consumer behavior,
Yeah. Totally.
right?
Yeah.
Just to put it in just to simplify it again,
Yeah.
Amazon allows brands to sell online and
Uh-huh.
also spend marketing dollars there to
Uh-huh.
influence consumer behavior,
Yeah.
right? Think of us as an analogy for the offline space,
Yeah.
where even if brand spend, the correlation to ROI, all of those are very complicated,
Yeah. Yeah. Got
right?
it.
We enable product flow to the market
Mm-hmm.
through the platform and
Yeah.
aggregates a lot of information through our AI, ML image processing engines, which
Mm-hmm.
can be utilized by brands to effectively do promotions on the ground.
Got it. And so obviously this is like a very complex space, right? Like it takes like for someone to even to understand it takes a while, right? And I
No,
remember,
yeah, I will simplify it. So as far as a brand is concerned, understanding where to sell is a
yeah,
problem. Which are
is a
the
problem.
stores which are
Yeah,
credit worthy, which are the stores which are worth putting, and
yeah,
if that decision can be taken by understanding what are the competition products that are selling and what kind of shelf space is occupied, it will be helpful,
yes,
right?
yes. I think
Understanding
that,
where to sell, yeah,
yeah, where to sell.
understanding where to sell, how to sell, right? How to
Yeah,
get these products to the market,
yeah,
and once you place the products on the shelf, what do you do after that, right?
yeah,
So it is not that when you put products on the shelf customers will pick it up.
yeah,
Many brands will have to do interventions on the ground, whether putting promoters on the ground, putting branding on the shelves, or even end cap branding, which is at the end of the aisle to get visibility. So
yeah,
many of these will have and run out offers based on how competition products are moving, and if yours is not moving, or if yours is moving and the velocity has to be improved, then you need to run. So all these decisions have to be taken for a brand.
yeah.
So we enable brands to do end-to-end commercial activity that is required for product movement and sales.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
tell me, what are the major challenges that you faced initially, in the initial stages of your business, and how did you kind of overcome them?
No, so I think this is my third entrepreneurial spin, right? So first,
Yeah.
I used to run a consulting firm.
Uh-huh.
Uh, yeah. So second, we started the relocation, technology platform called Picot, and now
Yeah.
Hackle, the third sprint.
Yeah.
Right? In each of those, the most complex part has been getting the initial set of customers and validation of the product or service.
Totally. And getting a product
So
market fit is very hard, I would say.
absolutely. So
So,
initially,
so I have someone who's my advisor slash mentor, and he's been there around me for like more than 8 years. I call him my use case generator because he always finds the product market fit. I'm like, you're my use case generator.
no, I think that is the most complex part, right? So see, like I was saying earlier, an idea evolves over a period of time,
Yeah.
right? The idea changes the moment you start talking to a customer.
Yeah.
And so when we started the consulting business, the initial thought was we will do consulting for MSMEs and startups and stuff,
Yeah.
but we found it extremely difficult to sell in that space.
Yeah.
And incidentally, all my customers came from the Fortune 500 space. Google was a customer, EMC was a customer, NetApp was a customer. So till that cycle started, and we were getting repeat business from some of them, it was very complex and difficult, right?
Yeah.
So similarly, when we started relocation, I mean, there when I say customers, it is a double-sided marketplace, right? On one side we have customers, and on the other side you have vendors who
Yeah.
are executing the jobs on the ground. So getting both these relationships right were extremely challenging, right?
Yeah.
And it took quite some time to get into a stable kind of a working relationship with the partner customers, right, who are the vendors on one side.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, as far as customer values are concerned, while since we were clear and we knew how to get a customer, that side was pretty simple. So
Yeah.
I mean, so it can be customers, it can be partner ecosystems. And in Hackle, brands, definitely getting brands has been one part, but that has been the easier part. Getting the product defined, ensuring that that product has everything that a brand requires or a store requires. So those are the challenges on the I mean, when I say product market fit side, right? Like
Yeah.
you said, use case. I think everybody is not blessed to have a lot of people around them, but
Yeah.
so there are
He's my
we are
use case
also
creator. Every time I need ideas, I go to him. I'm like, what do you think I should do here?
very
So,
nice. Yeah.
anyways, so tell me, what is like the most satisfying moment in your business so far? I know you've had three stints. This is your third stint with Hackle, right? But what's like satisfying? Is it like doing this over and over again? The hustle? What is it?
Yeah, I think so I have my co-founders who have been with me for quite some time, right? So
Yeah.
since the time we started the first entrepreneurial sprint.
And
So
you know them since your MBA days, or how do you kind of
uh,
know?
so uh, so uh, my technology CTO CB was my junior from undergrad.
Okay.
uh, Jairam was in fact my sister's junior in IIM Lucknow.
Oh, very
So that we go way back. Bhargav and Jairam were batchmates. So Bhargav came in later.
okay.
Suraj in fact was so I when I was running my consulting firm, I used to teach in a couple of B schools at that time.
Oh
Suraj
wow.
in fact was one of my brilliant students at during that time. And he was an exceptionally go-getter and very active in the college space. So when I was starting up, so I mean, he was also trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah,
So I think the timing worked out well. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome. That's very. So, what is the satisfying moment having these
No,
co-founders?
no, no, I think the journey itself is satisfying, right? So it is not a day. So I don't think there are days that you can call satisfying, right? So it is
Yeah,
a hustle, it's a struggle. It's more about, like, I mean, I was that's what I was saying, right? So I tell my co-founders that it is not that somebody will come and pat on your shoulders. You'll have to stand up, look in the mirror, and
yeah,
pat on your shoulders and say that today I'm going to do good. And when you say today I'm going to do good, you will definitely do good. And don't expect anybody else to acknowledge it or or praise you, right? You have to feel that motivation yourself to keep going in this journey. So
yeah.
and I think any moment, at any point, if I look back and think about the past few years, right,
Mhm.
and understand and and reflect, what have I learned, what have I gained out of it. I think every single moment that you spend in reflection is an extremely satisfying moment, right?
Yeah,
All
I
the other, right, whether it is getting a customer, getting an investor, getting moving the we grew 2.5x last year, that the growth, all of these are satisfying moments. But I
yeah,
think the biggest satisfaction is to look back on the journey and uh, reflect on what you have gained, right?
yeah,
The network you've gained, the experiences you have gained, the kind of things that you have tried to do. Some of them failed, some of them succeeded. I think I mean, that's what is most satisfying about this journey, right? So
yeah.
I think while there are no dull moments, it is more about being able to appreciate where you are.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. I totally hear you. I've had series of ups and downs my life as well. So I totally hear you. There's never a dull moment when you're like in this entrepreneurial journey.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so tell me, how did you acquire your first investor? And obviously, by the time you got to Hackle, probably you've built a little bit of a reputation and things like that. It must have been a little easier, but how did you get your first investor? How did you convince them?
I think I think so it's a mix of you know so every idea, right? So you are finding people who can understand what we are saying and also believe in what we are building, right? So the initial set of investors definitely came from the friends and family side,
Yeah,
right? So I think that is, so it is more about what do you say, what an entrepreneur has is his credibility, right? So at
yeah,
the end of the day, you're putting it on the line, bringing people, because they are the ones who can understand and appreciate the fact that you're genuinely trying to achieve something.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
the first set of customers, I believe, has always been friends and family. I mean, not in hack. I mean, not just in Hackle, even in Picot. So,
okay,
and then the talking to people outside, it's always a process, right? So you talk to several new people, and it is also it also gets to. I mean, it's a process in which you get to meet a lot of new people. So, and your ideas and a view of things gets impassionately questioned, right? So that's also a good process, but
yeah.
I think it's a process.
Yeah, I totally agree. So tell me, see, I understand you're disrupting quite a bit. So, but what are the key values that your company represents, and how do you ensure that you uphold to those key values?
I think as a company, we embraced a few values a few years back uh, because we felt that those were extremely necessary for us to survive,
Yeah,
for us to grow, and those values are still very relevant, irrespective of what business you are into, right?
yeah,
So I will just list down them and then probably mention one or two, right?
yeah,
So empathy, when we say empathy towards customers, towards employees, towards stakeholders, is
yeah,
partners, that is extremely required for any business to survive. So
yeah,
by empathy, it is not just about customer focused
yeah,
nature, right? So it is about a focus on understanding everybody in the ecosystem.
yeah,
So customers, employees, everybody, right?
yeah,
So the other one, uncompromised. We said that let us not do something where we cannot do it perfectly well, right? So the
yeah,
objective should be not to compromise, but to ensure that we do. I mean, I don't know whether this is a word, but somehow the team came up with it and I liked it, and so we have it here, right? Uncompromise.
yeah,
It's a never compromise on things that you want to achieve. Then the others are fail fast, adapt, because experimentation has to be there.
yeah,
One of the things that we have held close to the chest is frugality,
yeah,
right? So even the advisors who have closely worked with us would attest to the fact that we have been extremely frugal, right? So
yeah,
so I think that's something that defines how you look at
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
uh, the entire organizational spends
Yeah,
and stuff.
it's funny you say that. I'm extremely frugal. So I moved here as an immigrant, and obviously I had very little money, and I'm extremely frugal in many ways. And people who know me, like in my close circle, know that I'm extremely frugal. So like they're like
As
they.
an investor, as a prolific investor, you're also putting that money to good use, I would say.
Yes, so like when you say, right, like that's like my first thing when I look into entrepreneurs. I see if they're frugal or not, like because that's kind of really important, because that takes you a long way. And also I come from a business family, and majority of what we have built as a family and everything was mainly because we were like super frugal. Yeah,
I think that also comes from the values that we imbibe from our parents, right? So
yeah,
the previous generation has been extremely frugal and saving every penny that they could.
yeah, yeah, totally.
And the last one is integrity, right? I think I always say this, not just to my employees and I mean this is something that there cannot be a compromise. And
Yeah.
while I was running Pickle, I told one of my investors as well. I mean, there will be times where you can blame us for incompetence or even foolishness, but never for lack of integrity, right? So
Yeah.
you know, I hope they don't blame us for anything. But having said that, this is something that we truly believe, and we would want the entire organization to
Yeah.
adhere to.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
yeah,
So,
that's
tell me, how do you handle adversity and doubt? Obviously, as you have mentioned, you had a lot of ups and downs, and handling adversity and doubt is like hard. How do you do that?
uh, see, adversity and self doubt, all of those are part of the journey, right?
Yeah.
Because every day is an experimentation. You're trying to do something new. You're
Yeah.
trying to get a new customer, get into a new territory, doing something new. I mean, some of it works, some of them do not work. So it's something that creeps in every now and then. And when you so nowadays Shark Tank is extremely popular in India, right? So you will see a lot of entrepreneurs struggling with those, right? So and then you realize that it is not just your problem. It is the problem that everybody faces at some point or the other, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then one of the things that helped me or helped us has been the set of co-founders that we have. So it is not just me who is building, right? There are others who are building with me. So there
Yeah.
are avenues for us to talk to each other and figure out how to move forward. And some of our advisors have also been extremely glued in. For example, Revati Ashok, who is our who has been our first investor, right? She has almost always been the sounding board and a support, right? So not just Revati, whether it is Ajay or now it is Joe's. So a lot of people have are part of keeping an entrepreneur sane. So I think so I think and all of these are natural, right? So but
Yeah.
then the important thing is to build an ecosystem around you,
Yeah.
where a set of people whom you can talk to openly and take their suggestions irrespective of uh, 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 whether something is going right or wrong, right?
Yeah, I agree. You need to have your tribe. I have my little tribe who I talk to almost on a daily basis. Okay, so
Absolutely.
how do you, what is like, I mean, like a failure that you've had, and then you look back at it and then you turn it into something successful, or maybe, you had that failure and then, all the dots connected and you said, oh, that failure was meant to happen.
So I don't know whether there are major ones that we can talk about, but I mean I think one small incident comes to my mind. So while we were running the relocation firm, right? So initially there was so it was the initial days. We were also learning the ropes. We were trying to get our act right, and that time a very premium customer booked with us, and the team without realizing
Mhm.
had quoted a very low price for that move
Yeah,
compared to what it should have been.
yeah,
And we ended up executing it and goofing up the move, right? So I mean, and it is extremely personal for the person who is moving. So
uh-huh,
me and my co-founder went and met him,
uh-huh,
spoke to him, understood. So we learned from that process, and I think the next year his company was one of our biggest corporate clients. We built over 2 crores for that company in the next 1.5 years, right?
yeah,
So what's I mean I think I mean failures happen, right?
yeah,
So sometimes I think Mark Zuckerberg took it to the extreme when we said if you're not breaking things,
yeah,
then you're not moving forward. So the joke in
yeah,
our company is that if we break things, then somebody will start somebody will be paying massively, right? So we are moving things, we cannot break things, right? So but then yeah, so it is important to learn from those and then move
yeah.
forward.
So, what is like your long-term vision for your company?
I think today we are at a place when we talk about the distribution network, right? So we are trying to disrupt something that has been around for a long time.
Yeah,
Uh, and changing the dynamics of the entire ecosystem is not an easy thing.
Yeah.
So we are in that process of building a data backed
Yeah.
and actionable and very effective network and
Yeah.
platform today. And I think it's a and if we achieve what we have set out to achieve, it will be massive in its sense because of the impact it creates in the market and the changes it enables. It will also support and help a lot of brands that want to get into the market, right? So
Yeah.
I think the impact that we can create is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I would gauge our success. I mean, a lot of parameters can be put, right? So whether we have built a shareholder value, whether we have, build a sustainable, profitable firm. A lot of things can be looked at to evaluate success. But having said that, ultimately, the impact you create
Hmm.
is what translates to many of those,
Yeah.
right? So I
And then,
think,
yeah. Sorry, you were
yeah.
saying something.
No. So I think the impact is what we have to be focused on,
Yeah.
and I think that will drive all the remaining parameters.
Yeah. So, can you tell me, like, describe your leadership style? Like, how do you cultivate your team, your culture? How do you do that? You guys get a big smile. You're like, oh, I'm just trying to figure this out or something.
No. I think it's a wrong question to ask me. You should ask my teammates what my leadership style is. Because because all of us assume something as
Yeah,
our style, right? Whether it
yeah,
is right or wrong, we don't know. So
yeah,
I believe that I know one of the strengths has been that I've been open with my team about a lot of things, right? Whether it
yeah,
is the struggles that we are facing or the excitement that I have. I think that has worked well in keeping the entire teams aligned to what we are doing. But
yeah,
having said that, I believe in giving a lot of freedom,
yeah.
and I think freedom will foster innovation,
And yeah,
and build a lot of accountability and responsibility, right? So I think while there are times when you have to be hands on, I
yeah,
think it also is beneficial, equally beneficial, to ensure to let people do what they are supposed to do,
yeah,
and do minimal oversight, right? So initially I had a problem with that, but then over a period of time,
yeah.
I think I also have come to the understanding that it is better to give people freedom.
Yeah.
Uh,
Actually, leadership is very hard. Like the more I grow in my career, the more I feel like leadership is the hardest thing to do because at the end of the day, the buck stops at you, right? So
Correct.
you need to figure out. Sometimes you have to make really hard decisions, and those hard decisions are very hard to make. And
Correct.
you come across as somebody who is tough, but actually you're not tough inside. So,
Correct.
anyways,
And like you said, decision making is always complex, right?
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, you want your decision to be,
yeah,
accepted, but at the same time, you also have to take into account what other people's views are. Sometimes, that is where sometimes compromise may be the best way forward, right? So all of those have to be figured out. Looking at, but one good thing for us is that all the so one of the tenets of
yeah,
working together with with my co-founders has been that we never criticize each other. We criticize the idea. All the discussions are about specific issues
oh,
rather than about people. That is something that we set during the first few months of getting together, that
yeah,
never criticize the person or
yeah.
traits, and always talk about the issue at hand. I think that has helped.
Yeah, that is something that I learned very recently, I would say. Anyways, so tell me like who's like what's like a book or a mentor that has significantly influenced you in your journey this far? Was there somebody like who helped you out at the very beginning, or did you have a book that greatly influenced you? And I said, you know what, this is amazing.
I
It
think
changed.
all of us come from an era where uh, some of these classics have always inspired
Yeah,
us to get into business, right? I'm sure
yeah,
Sony Akio Morita or even Lee Iacocca. Those are
yeah,
books that provide the excitement of fiction in a business setting, right? So
yeah,
I think these are the books that you start off with.
yeah,
Recently, if you say, I think there are a lot of books that I can pick, and Zero to One has been one which has been
yeah,
extremely good
yeah,
in unraveling how the startup how a startup should be, and how we should take it forward.
yeah.
Uh, but I think more than business books, the ones that I like are the ones connected to business and psychology, right? So
Yeah.
behavioral economics and stuff, whether it
Yeah.
is uh, thinking fast and slow,
Yeah.
or influenced by Robert Cialdini. So all of these are exceptional books, and I think what you pick up from those, maybe very few things, but I mean, somewhere it comes in handy.
Where it sticks and then it just continues. Yeah, I have those moments where I've read a book and some mentors have given me some advice and that has stuck with me. And it just is these single lines which have like changed transformed my life.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sometimes you read an entire book and there are few things that stay with you. It,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
and you may not. I mean, after a few years, you may not be even able to pinpoint that this is the book where it came from. But you
So
know,
since you
it,
mentioned 0 to 1, the only thing that stayed with me was 0 to 1.
no, no,
In
amazing, right? So
2015. So,
yeah,
so anyways, so can you, okay, um, so what critical skills do you think an entrepreneur needs to succeed, right? According to you?
yeah. So you know, uh, I think a lot of skills are required, whether it is you know uh, being able to spot the idea, improve the idea, work on it, perseverance.
Yeah,
But I think entrepreneurship is a journey of self discovery, right?
yeah,
So when you're required to do 100 things, you realize what are the things you cannot do well,
yeah,
and what are the things you can do exceptionally well. So I
yeah,
think spotting your own gap
yeah,
is extremely important for an entrepreneur, so that he can fill those with people who
yeah,
have those adequate skills.
yeah,
I think remaining, I mean, all of those are things that everybody says, right? You need to have high level of perseverance. You should be able to,
yeah,
do the grind,
yeah,
uh, uh, be able to take the stress, be happy with the struggle, go
yeah,
out, network, sell, right? All of these are true. But at the
yeah,
end of the day, I think what is critical for an entrepreneur is to figure out what he lacks,
yeah,
and be open about it and see whether you can fill that gap with somebody uh,
yeah.
uh, 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 who can complement it, right? So I think, for me, I think that I believe is the biggest skill in an
And
entrepreneurship.
also, I
Other
feel like perseverance is very important because
correct,
a lot of people will get started on things and they will never perceive it.
correct,
That's one skill I feel like has stayed with me for my entire career. Like even if I do
absolutely,
like a small presentation, I want to make sure that it looks good, kind of a thing,
correct,
right?
correct,
So
correct,
a lot of people don't have that same seriousness in their life, and I think that is very important for an entrepreneur.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so last question. What advice would you give to someone who is starting his own company?
I think there is no perfect idea,
Yeah,
right? So sometimes I see people telling me that I'm waiting for that perfect idea
yeah,
to start up, right?
yeah,
The realization of, I mean, not just me, I think many of the entrepreneurs, is that there is no perfect idea. There is an idea, and the grind and the time that you put into it to make it perfect
yeah,
is what ultimately matters.
yeah,
So I mean, so don't wait for the perfect big idea. The big
yeah,
idea will come, and you will get there, right? So second, second, it is a very lonely journey. So never be alone. Ensure that you have co-founders whom you can build with, right?
yeah,
So I think these two are the most important things for anybody who is starting up. Remaining everything, product market fit, getting investors, all of those are part of the process.
yeah,
And once you get started and you have somebody to build it with,
yeah,
I think everybody will get there at some point or the other. And it doesn't matter, I think Saras Saraswati, right? So the professor
yeah,
of I used to be a consultant, so that is why books and all of this, right?
yeah, yeah.
The
I've
ones that
read.
I'm quoting.
Yeah,
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 Saras Saraswati, who is a professor, used to say that
yeah,
entrepreneurs are people who take an affordable level of risk,
yeah,
right? But as an entrepreneur, I realize that the affordable level keeps on changing, and the amount of that you take
yeah,
is much more than what you imagine you would take when you start up,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
it is important that I mean, like you said, one perseveres and stays to ensure that it
yeah,
improves.
yeah,
Second, you have somebody to build with.
yeah. I definitely like. I feel like it, and also sometimes you have to be a solo entrepreneur, right? So you can, at least if you have family and friends and good mentors who can support you, I think that goes a long,
Correct,
long way.
correct.
Well, yeah,
The support ecosystem
yeah, the
is
support
what.
ecosystem because
Sometimes what happens.
yeah,
Sometimes what happens is that it may not be possible for everybody to open up to the family or people around, right? So
yeah,
that is where a co-founder helps. Otherwise, yeah, uh,
yeah.
you don't want to put everybody under pressure of what you're building,
Yeah,
and a
actually,
co-founder
that
definitely.
is very true. What you say, like, I'm not always comfortable telling my husband what I'm doing, but I'm
Absolutely.
always comfortable telling my tribe what I'm doing,
Correct, correct. Absolutely.
and how I'm
Absolutely.
failing on a daily basis.
Which I'm not sure is the case, but yeah.
All right. Okay. Perfect. This was our time, Deepu, and I really enjoyed talking. And thank you for coming on Maker's Bar. And I learned a lot from you, and this was really great. And thank you for coming again.